Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology.
All right, well, here we go. Welcome to the Blockchain Show. We have a special guest today, Kai from Railgun. Kai, I want to welcome you. Thanks for joining me today. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're very welcome. My pleasure. I suppose the best way to get started, provide our audience with an introduction to Railgun and your role within the organization, and maybe anything you'd like to share about the formation or anything like that.
Railgun is a privacy system for EVM chains. So it allows you to store, send, receive crypto, so ETH and ERC20s privately, and then it also lets you take your private balance and interact with DeFi applications.
Just kind of curious what motivated the creation of Railgun, and how does it reflect the broader vision of the crypto and privacy ecosystem?
Railgun was or is a movement of crypto enthusiasts and privacy advocates. If we were to take crypto like right now as it is and make the entire world use it, it would be pretty disastrous, right? Because, whenever I go down to a coffee shop or like my local grocery store, I swipe my card. I have an expectation that like the only thing that happens is like, oh, well, the cashier there knows that, yeah, well, okay, the payment went through, everything's good, and then they give me my coffee or they give me my like bagels and milk or whatever it may be, right? But that's not the case in crypto, right? Right now. So if you were to go down and try to pay for things in crypto, every single person that you interact with, everyone that you go and like receive like a payment from, or if you go and pay them for services, they now know like everything that you've ever bought, right? They can track what you're going to buy in the future. They know how much you make, all of these things, right? And so like crypto without privacy, being a ledger that's like publicly viewable and downloadable for the world to see is actually like pretty devastating for, personal freedoms, personal privacy. And so in order to solve that, right, you need to build out these privacy layers for people to be able to safely interact and be confident that when they use their crypto and like everyday transactions, or even not everyday transactions, that they're not like compromising their personal information.
Yeah, that's an important thing to remember, that I think a lot of people either overlook or are not aware of, just the complete transparency. Because I feel like most popular opinion is that it's like anonymous and used for like nefarious purposes or historically, but actually, it's fairly easy to, like you said, see everything anyone's ever bought, what they make. Yeah, I always thought that was kind of a misnomer when people would say it's anonymous or that sort of thing. Yeah, well, I wanted to talk a little bit about zero-knowledge cryptocurrency and Railgun. I know you utilize this technique for privacy, but could you help maybe our listeners understand, how it works within the Railgun system and what advantages it brings for those who are not too familiar with the technology?
Yeah. So what zero knowledge or like zero knowledge snarks or zero knowledge proofs, there's a number of different ways to refer to it. But essentially what it is it's a way of mathematically proving that something is true without revealing the details necessarily of what you're proving. And so you can imagine, like, as an example, right? Like if I had a Where's Waldo or Where's Wally, however it's called in your local neck of the woods. If I had one of these books, right, and I knew where Wally was, right, and you didn't, and I want to prove to you that I know where Wally was, right? But I don't want to show that to you because it'll spoil the fun and you won't be able to go off and find it yourself. And so I can prove this to you by, taking like a sheet of paper, right? I can cut a little hole in it, right? About the same size as Wally, right? And take this really big sheet of paper, and then I can put the book behind it, and then, adjust it so that the hole is on top of where Wally is, right? So now you can look at this paper, you see through the hole, you see, oh, okay, well, like I see Wally through the hole. I can't see the rest of the book, so I don't know where he is. But, I can see him through the hole. And so clearly, you must know where Wally is, or you wouldn't be able to do that, right? So this system, when applied to private transactions, essentially what you're doing is you can show that, I've got some like rules around what constitutes a valid transaction, right? So I must be spending coins that exist in the system. The coins that I spend the coins, and then the coins that I send out, I can't create new coins out of thin air, right? So the coins into the transaction, the coins out of the transaction must be equal. And I must, hold the valid private key in order to spend them. And what you can do with zero knowledge is you can prove that hey, I did some transaction. Here's the encrypted inputs that, are on the blockchain. Here's the encrypted outputs that need to be added to the current blockchain state, right? And because they're encrypted, no one can read what the contents are. But because I can now supply a zero knowledge proof to show that effectively I know that this transaction was done following the rules of the system, right? I can prove that that's a valid transaction, and you don't get to have any insight into what the actual makeup of that transaction is.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think most people are familiar, at least listening, with just traditional crypto wallets. What would the experience be for someone using Railgun? Would it be similar, or would there be more steps involved? Just maybe kind of walk me through the user experience, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, when you're using Railgun, or when you use crypto in general, right, you need a bit of software, right, a bit of wallet software, which supports the protocol that you want to use, right? So if you're using Ethereum, you need an Ethereum wallet. If you're using Bitcoin, you need a Bitcoin wallet, and so on, right? And then within each chain, you can have different transaction methods, if you will, right? So if you take, probably the closest example, because it's also dealing with privacy, is Zcash, right? So if you want to send a Zcash transaction, you need a Zcash wallet. If you want to send a shielded Zcash transaction, right, you need a Zcash wallet which supports shielded transactions, right? And so in a similar way, Zcash has got your T address, which is transparent, Z addresses, which are shielded. What Railgun does is it adds a new address type to Ethereum. So you've got your 0x address, which is public and transparent, and then you've got your 0zk address, which is shielded, right? And so in order to use Railgun, you need to grab a bit of wallet software which supports the 0zk address format. So right now, the most popular one would be Railway, but there's a couple of others, Terminal Wallet, Token Shielder, and so on, that you can use. And then from there, the experience is, roughly the same as any other kind of crypto wallet, right? So you've got your 12-word seed phrase that, generates your private keys. Don't the same sort of caveats. Don't reveal that to anyone else. Keep it safe, keep it backed up. And then you've got your coins. You can, you've got your address. You copy that, send it to whoever. They can send you coins. You can send, receive by putting other people's addresses in. Same sort of deal.
Yeah, it's very cool. And, when we're talking about different coins and tokens and, the concept of shielding and unshielding tokens, I was wondering if you could maybe explain that a little bit more to me. How does this process work? What level of anonymity does it provide to users? And furthermore, if you could explain how private sends function within Railgun to, protect secure and confidential transactions.
Yeah, so a shielding transaction, again, I think the Railgun 0zk address format really does have a lot of parallels to the way that Zcash transparent and shielded addresses work, right? It effectively is the same system running on Ethereum, except instead of Zcash. And so, when you shield a token, you can see like the from address, like the sender and the amount, because it's being sent from a public address to a private address, but the destination is shielded, right? So that's goes into an encrypted bundle. When you unshield, you're essentially taking like an encrypted, you know, encrypted UTXO, or like an encrypted batch of tokens that you can send, and essentially like revealing those tokens and signaling that you want to send them to a particular 0x or public address. And so the receivers is able to be seen, and the token amount and so on that they receive. But when it goes from shielded to shielded, so 0zk to 0zk address, you're not able to see the sender or receiver, because both ends of the transaction are encrypted and to private addresses.
Yeah, and earlier when you're talking about going to the store and people just swiping their cards, they just really expect it to work. There's been long history of trying to protect people's financial information, bank information, but it's what people know, so they're used to it. It's not necessarily secure, but kind of wondering your vision, what do you think it would take for people to be able to use crypto more as transactional type interactions, or kind of a broader scope vision?
There's a couple of hurdles here, right? So like one is the UX issue, and I don't think anyone's quite solved the like key management problem yet. So managing your private keys is fairly difficult. Like you can't expect grandma to go and be figuring out, oh well, what do these like 12 words mean, and like why do I need to put them in like engraved steel in like a bank vault or something, I don't know, right? You can't expect everyone to be like figuring that out, but I think that's a sort of problem that everyone's sort of aware of at the regular everyday user level. But I think the other side of that coin, right, is you've also got businesses that want to use this stuff, and like what business is going to sit here and use a system that like reveals all of their financials to their competitor, right? Like you can imagine if like Toyota had some deal with like their like rubber supplier, and like Hyundai or something was able to just like go and see, oh well, you get that exact pricing, and then I can go and like have some advantage in my negotiation with my rubber supplier because like my competitor is revealing all of their information. So things like this, just like they're having everything by default public is very hostile to like regular business practices. And so I think on the other side of things, right, we've got the consumer issues, or like the regular everyday user issues, but you've also got these like business issues around like data privacy and like protection of like their trade secrets and all, that need to be solved. And I think you're not going to be able to like onboard these sorts of users until you have proper privacy for crypto.
I agree. Yeah, earlier when you were talking about Ethereum, multi-chain, multi-platform support, I know Railgun operates on multiple blockchains. It's kind of curious, what considerations went into ensuring, a seamless private experience for users across Ethereum, BSC, Polygon, Arbitrum, and I'm not sure if there's any others.
Yeah, so Ethereum, Binance, or BNB Smart Chain now, Polygon, and Arbitrum. Yeah. I mean, right now, so like Railgun is essentially, again, as I alluded to before, it is just a new address format that is deployed onto these chains. And so like anything or any sort of like user experience that you would be able to have with like a regular 0x public address, you would be able to also have with a 0zk address. I think most wallets right now are trying to, given like the majority of users of Ethereum right now have like a certain expectation around how wallets work, right? So they expect, the 12 words and so on. I think the majority of wallets that are built for Railgun and are being built sort of cater to that user experience. And so it should be fairly similar to, say using like a MetaMask or whatever other like your favorite wallet is. So that doesn't exclude the possibility of exploring other means of private key management and transaction management and so on that might be more user friendly. I'd be interested to see if anyone's actually got any good ideas around doing like crypto, like UX in general. But yeah, as it stands right now, it should be like a fairly familiar experience to people that have used MetaMask in the past.
Yeah, that's cool. If you could share any insights into challenges, advantages, providing privacy across different blockchain platforms.
Well, I mean, I think the idea, like, is, for a privacy protocol like Railgun, right? I mean, it's not like Railgun's not building, the next layer one or anything like that, right? There's no investment specifically in any particular L1, and so we kind of leave that up to users to decide, well, what their chain is and everything, and Railgun's not trying to pick any winners or losers. It's just, hey, wherever the users are, let's provide privacy for those platforms.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but would it be a fair comparison to like, someone using a VPN when they want to get on the internet, but for crypto?
Yeah, similar. I mean, like, Railgun is effectively like an incognito mode for your wallet.
Incognito, yeah, that's a better way to put it. Yeah, I like that. And why the name Railgun? It reminds me of playing Red Faction as a kid. Railgun, you can shoot through anything.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you'd probably have to ask the white paper authors why specifically, but yeah, I mean, I Railgun's sort of like a callback to one of the classic first person shooter games, and the Railgun would be the most powerful gun, or Quake 2, that was it.
You want to talk about Wallet SDK and Railgun Connect? How does it work? Capabilities it offers to developers, looking to incorporate Railgun into their projects, and anything really.
Yeah, so I think like probably one of the most like the biggest like misconceptions when people sort of look at Railgun or these sort of things, yeah, the biggest misconception when people look at Railgun is like, oh well, it's a wallet, right? So Railgun isn't a wallet itself. It's a as I said, an incognito mode for wallets, right? So what Wallet SDK does is it allows you to take, if you're a wallet dev, and you're interested in providing privacy for your users, as you should be. You can take the Wallet SDK and essentially use that, which makes implementing the Railgun protocol much simpler. You don't have to worry about any of the cryptography or anything, writing into the cryptography yourself. So this kind of like already implements all of that for you, and then you can pull this into your wallet and add a incognito mode to it as well.
Well, cool. So going back to Railgun Connect, you might have to help me here, but it seems like it bridges the OZK addresses with dApps. I'm curious just how that works. What kind of applications can benefit from that sort of integration?
We talked about like the Wallet SDK, which is on the like wallet developer side, right? If you want to add privacy to wallet, but if we're talking about like on dApp developers, dApps, they kind of expect a certain transaction format and all when you're interacting with them, and so this will have to change once account abstraction gets more popular. But right now, dApps aren't really well, like dApp front ends aren't really well coded to support, account abstraction and all these kind of new wallet protocols that are coming out. And so Railgun Connect is a method of essentially adding in like a compatibility layer between like your dApp front ends and like these account abstraction wallets, or specifically Railgun like private wallet. So like Railgun is like a account abstraction protocol as well, right? And so it allows like these dApps which kind of expect like a traditional EOA to interface with like special or newer types of Ethereum accounts.
And earlier, we were talking about privacy, thinking about auditing and compliance features, because this part really amazes me. But how do you address security and compliance in the crypto space, especially with features like auditability, private proofs of innocence? There's compliance with data protection, privacy laws like GDPR, CCPA. Like there's so much there. I don't even know how to ask the question.
Yeah. So it's when you look at like different areas of the world, right? It is pretty obvious that like people care about personal privacy, right? And these are rights which are pretty stringently protected, right? Like you can't go and like if you're a company paying your employees crypto, right? Maybe you need to review this because like a lot of places look down on people that like post all of their employees' information on the internet, like how much they get paid, what their like bank account effectively is, right? So if you're getting paid in crypto, like anyone can see how much you get paid, and then they can also go and see like what you spend it on, right? If they know your company's wallet address, which isn't so difficult, they send like a payment to your company, right? So now like this company now has like all their employees or the suppliers and all that payment information is now publicly available. So that's not ideal. So I think, like actually having privacy in these systems is kind of necessary for like adhering to these sort of principles. But on the other side, like you've got users of these systems that, obviously they don't want to be associated with like bad actors and we've got like objectively bad actors out there, right? Like I don't like people that go and like go and hack people's money and like thieves, right? Like these sort of people are not good people, right? And so how do you as an individual, like you as a user, how do you distance yourself from these actors, right? And so I think this number of tools that that can be used to like distance yourself from these actors, and wherever you are in the world, as a user of crypto, remain compliant with whatever the local jurisdiction you're located in is. So I mean, I guess we can sort of go over some of these, right? So if you're using Railgun, there is in the railway wallet, for example, there is the ability to go and export a tax report, right? And so you can go and use that in order to be, whichever jurisdiction you're in, you can export these tax reports and prepare whatever filing and be compliant that way. There is, viewing keys. So the kind of nuclear option for some of these things is if you need to go and disclose your transaction history for any particular reason, you're able to go and do that. But then there's also the sort of like passive, what I like to call like hygiene or like crypto hygiene tool set, right? So Railgun's got something called private POI, which essentially allows you to be like assured that whenever you're interacting with these systems, you aren't associating yourself with any sort of like bad actor that might also want to interact with these systems, right? So you're distancing yourself from them, and by virtual distancing yourself from them, right? Like like if people sort of distance themselves from bad actors, then these sort of actors that would like to abuse these systems just aren't able to gain any benefit from. So they're not able to remain private because no one's associating themselves with them.
Yeah, very good. I appreciate that response. Very thoughtful. Yeah, earlier when you were talking about payroll, kind of got me thinking about use cases and applications. What Railgun caters to various users or use cases, from alpha protection, private payroll, and just wondering if you could share any real world examples or success stories where Railgun has made a significant impact for users, businesses, anything like that.
Yeah, so obviously, I don't want to dox anyone that actually uses it, being a privacy system. But I know of people that use Railgun to do payroll, right? So ensuring that employees or contractors or whoever they may be are paid, but also in a way that doesn't reveal any of their information to any would-be snoops. There's also users that use Railgun to scale into and out of positions that maybe if they did that publicly, right, like people would be able to see, oh well, this person is buying up whatever token. Well, now I can go and front run them, or I can use that information to my advantage, like adversarially. So maybe I can like see their position and I can like force the market, whatever, to like liquidate them, or whatever the case may be. And so yeah, there's a number of ways that people use Railgun for benefit.
I was wondering if you could share any foresight, what Railgun evolving to accommodate emerging use cases in the evolving crypto landscape, and also any future developments, partnerships, or anything you'd like to share long term.
Yeah, I mean, the Railgun protocol itself already sort of supports effectively any arbitrary use case. So anything that you could use like Ethereum for, you can use Railgun for as well, just for like varying levels of difficulty. And so I think the couple of things that would be good key areas of research. Yeah, a couple of things that would be good key areas of research for Railgun contributors upcoming would be number one, I think the biggest UX challenge right now for users is the amount of gas that it takes to execute a Railgun transaction. So bringing that down, better kind of handling of failed transactions. So maybe you do like a trade on Uniswap and like the market moves against you, and so it goes out of your slippage range. So things like that. Just general kind of UX issues. The other thing is, while it's possible to do things with a particular protocol, that doesn't necessarily mean it's easy to do them, right? And so like someone actually has to go and do the work of building out easy to use tools for people to go and execute whatever like use case they want to do. And so I think things like Railgun Connect and polishing up SDKs, widening the sort of like use cases that the SDKs can be applied to. These sort of things are probably good things to focus research on in like the upcoming months.
Very good. Well, cool. Thank you very much for explaining all that for us today. Just in conclusion, I was wondering if you wanted to share a message or key message to convey to our audience regarding any mission Railgun has on its impact on the privacy landscape, kind of taking the 30,000-foot view and the decentralized ecosystems, and also just how people can, whether they're interested individuals, developers, businesses, get involved with Railgun and either contribute to or benefit from its privacy.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of aspects to this. Like just generally, especially recently with current news and so on. I think I don't know how many times we have to like experience this before we actually learn a lesson, but like the whole point of crypto is like you hold your keys, you manage, like you hold your own coins, like you manage them, you're responsible for them yourself. So stay away from centralized platforms. And then as part of that, right? I think the reason that people go to these centralized platforms is just because the privacy and sort of education. So the education around using crypto and like being able to use it well, being able to use it privately with good hygiene, just isn't like it's not properly disseminated yet. Let's say, and so I think there's a good amount of work that can be done on the education side, and for I guess that's for sort of like users and community builders, and for developers. If you care about your users and you want them to have privacy, and I think you should care about your users, then you can go to docs.railgun.org or github.com/railgun-community. There's various resources there and kind of SDKs and documentation and how-tos, and that will help you build out your applications to have privacy.
Yeah, that's excellent, Kai. I want to thank you again for taking the time to join us today. I really appreciate it. Yeah, man, it's a pleasure speaking with you. I wish you all the best, and I'll be following Railgun with much interest.
All right, thanks for having me on.